I thought I'd bring you down. This is the swimming hole here. I thought I would show you some of my wild medicinals here that I'm going to gather right from the pond. And there's a group of them right here. That's what I thought I would show. The first one here is this one. And the spike stalks really give it away. This is vervain. These spikes are actually the spiked flower stalks. These ones are actually kind of small. You can see further out, these ones here are a little bit larger. Anyway, this is blue vervain. Blue vervain vervains do have the flower stalks. The blue vervain has this lance pointy leaf, like so. Some people say it looks like, especially the lower leaves, make it look almost nettle-like in appearance. I guess you could say it does, except for the way they come off the stalk. They come off the stalk in pairs, across from each other in what is called opposite. Alternate is if one comes up here and then another one comes off here, but these ones are opposite from each other. And because each of the leaf stalks have multiple leaves that come off, multiple stalks that come off in the same area, it kind of has like a whirl-like effect, like it looks like the leaves are whirled around it, though they're not actually. And the other thing about blue vervain is it does have the typical vervain square stem, which you can kind of see here. You can kind of see the groove that goes up in it. But the most obvious part of it is the flower, those flower stalks. That screams vervain. I use many different kinds of vervain. Hoary vervain is probably the one I use the most, but mainly I use that the most because that's what I have the most around. Blue vervain is actually a much more powerful medicine, and I'm going to gather some of that. What we use blue vervain for is it is a relaxant. It relaxes the body. Mix it with chamomile for a relaxing tea. Some people like to mix it with valerian. I think that's a little strong, but some people do like to do that. You can, of course, see how you like it. But it also is slightly analgesic, which means it takes down swelling and helps relieve pain. So it's a good remedy for those things like tension headaches. You've been stressed today and you're just, everything's been going wrong, and normally you can handle this, but it's been building and there's one on top of the other and on top of the other and on top of the other, and you're kind of gritting your teeth a little bit and you're a little tense, your body's tensing up. This does help with that, to let your body relax and therefore let that pain kind of dissipate. And that's mainly what I use it for, is tension pain. TMJ, some people suffer from TMJ, which is a lot of people call it lockjaw, which it's nowhere near lockjaw, but where your jaw clicks. Women especially suffer from it. And it's from a lot of times you're stressed and you clench your teeth even while you're sleeping. Taking a little vervain before you go to bed helps your body relax that. And so you're not clenching your jaw. Your body the muscles just kind of relax a little bit. Mixed with cramp bark. Cramp bark doesn't taste very good. The vervain, I won't say it tastes great, but it doesn't taste bad. It's kind of a neutral, I call it a green flavor. The two ways to, of course, harvest it is the whole above ground aerial plant can be used, is to snip off part of the plant, or snip the plant off and hang it to dry, or dry it on a screen. Another way, of course, is through a tincture of at least 80% alcohol. You're going to find blue vervain near water, and you can see that's just where it is. It likes its feet wet. Hoary vervain, which is what I use more because I have so many prairies, likes it where it's dry, likes the dry sandies, the big hills out here. So it's just easier for me to gather, but I am going to gather some blue vervain here just because it is such a powerful medicine. And we'll go just a little further back here, if I can do so without stepping into the water. This is just a quick one. This here is Solomon seal, and we've got the berries underneath. The berries are edible. They're nothing to write home about. In fact, they kind of have no flavor in your mouth. But they do make a nice little trail nibble. What you use the Solomon seal for is, as the plant's dying back, you dig up the root, because this one here has released all of its berries, and you can see it's more of a yellow color. It is starting to die back. You want a little more gone than this. It's dumping all of its energy back down into its root. It has a very large white tuberish root, which you can eat. It's just a sweet root, so roasted root vegetables are really good to eat it. But the root also makes a good poultice if you kind of mash it up and put it on sprains or bruises. It helps to take the swelling down of the pain and bruises. But that's for a little bit later. I'm not really actually harvesting that at this point. The next thing that we're going to look at here is this plant. This one's not quite to full bloom. That one out there, as you can kind of see, the top is fuzzy. And this is Joe Pyeweed. And Joe Pyeweed and the next plant we're going to talk about, which is this white flowered one, which is boneset. They're related. They're kind of cousins. So they have a lot of the same medicinal values. Boneset is the more powerful one, while Joe Pyeweed not quite so much. Joe Pye gets its name from a traveling medicine man. Joe Pye was a traveling medicine man, and he came across a town that was in the middle of an epidemic, and he went down to the creek that runs through the area and gathered up some Joe Pyeweed and put it in alcohol and then gave it to everybody to drink, and it is said that it cured many people, most importantly being the mayor's daughter. And so he was thought of as a great man because of it. So Joe Pyeweed is really good. It's not really good. It's good for breaking fevers. If you have other things that I usually mix it with some things, and I'm going to be harvesting. I'm going to come at it from the pond side, but I don't want to have the camera in my hand while I'm doing it. But I mix it with other plants to perhaps that and some willow bark or something like that, and it helps to keep the fever down, reduce the fever. That's mainly what I use it for. It does have that pretty pink flower. When it is open, it kind of almost has a fuzzy look to it, rounded stem, and as you can see, all the leaves come off in a whirl, which is, I think, the plant is striking just on itself. For the most part, you'll find Joe Pyeweed by water. You might find it out and about. It likes sunlight, so any place that there's sun, Joe Pyeweed you'll probably find some Joe Pyeweed around. And then we get to the main flower, which is just opening, and there's a batch of it further down, but that's not in the middle of all the other medicines. And actually, we're going to talk about one more before I'm done. This here is boneset. And boneset is pretty much one of what I would call one of the premier antivirals of the plant world. If you get the flu, boneset tincture or boneset tea is what you use for, reach for boneset. This is not antibacterial. This is not, you don't make a salve out of this to put over a wound that might get bacteria in it. This is antiviral. Bacteria and viruses are two different things. Antibiotics can help fight bacteria. Antibiotics do not touch what boneset can go through. Boneset is a unique plant. It has that white umbral flower, which is just opening, and again, like its cousin, it kind of looks fuzzy when it opens. And it has this unique leaf structure where, if you look, it looks like the stem is literally going right up through two leaves, like two leaves grew together and the stem comes right up through there. They are opposite, obviously, of each other. And boneset almost always likes its feet wet. If you want to grow boneset in your garden, you should give it plenty of water. It just likes a lot of water. So I know people that grow boneset in their garden. I don't, and mainly I don't because it grows so, I have so much of it that grows naturally around here. When I harvest it, when I do harvest any of these plants, I of course do not take all of it. The saying that I use is you leave one for the plant itself so it can go to seed. You leave the second one for a brother or sister who may need it themselves. They may be sick and they may need something. You leave a third for the animals who live off this, butterflies, bees, whatever needs that for continuation of life, and you get the fourth one. So basically only 25% of the area would I ever harvest at once, and normally I don't even get that, don't go that crazy. But that is the rule. If there's only 3 plants there, I probably am not going to harvest it. What I will do is help spread the seeds, so next year I'll have more plants, but I probably will not harvest it if there's only 3 or less plants in the area. This one, I'm not going to harvest these ones because they're not quite ready yet. There's some just a little further down that are ready, but they'll have that fuzzy white flower, umbral flower on the top. And then we got this little one, which I didn't see till I got in here, but this here is jewelweed, another name for jewelweed. That's a piece of grass for you guys. But another name for jewelweed is touch-me-not. The reason it's called that is because when the flowers go to seed, the pods just swell and swell and swell, and if you brush against them or touch them, they explode, and seeds that's how they spread their seeds, is the seeds fly everywhere. And it's not like it explodes like a bomb, like you'll get killed. It's just, if you touch them, they go ting. They actually don't make, they make a little popping noise, and then the seeds just fly everywhere. As a child, and I hate to admit it, but even as an adult, I will go along in about 2 weeks when all the pods start getting ready, and I go around and touching them just to see them explode. It's a fun thing for little country kids that have nothing else to do. Jewelweed gets its name because the leaves seem to not have do not take water on top of them. You can see that the water seems to bead up, and in the sunlight, when it catches the sunlight, it looks like it's literally glowing little jewels. Jewelweed always likes to have its feet wet. There's Zorro in the background. The jewelweed always likes to have its feet wet, and if you have a drought year like last year, we did not have jewelweed. It came back really strong this year, but last year we did not have jewelweed. Jewelweed can have a yellow flower. Usually the yellow flower is for people who live in higher elevations, and the orange flower is for those of us who live closer to the sea level. That seems to be it, but don't quote me on that. It has alternating leaf axis, meaning the leaf comes off here and then a little further up on the other side, and then a little further up on the other side. A very juicy stem. I'm not going to crush this one, but it has a very juicy stem, very juicy leaves, the flowers, everything. This is nature's cortisone. Crush it up, put it on a bug bite, takes the itch away. Put it on poison ivy. Some people swear by it. I tend to doctor it up a little bit, and I'll actually, not today, but maybe tomorrow I'll whip up a video of how to use jewelweed. We'll harvest some and how to do that. But anyway, that's another wild medicinal that's growing right here. A lot of our wild medicinals like their feet wet, so we have several wild medicinals in this very short, small area. And I am going to go now and get this and do some harvesting.